Even though we're only 3 games in and you start off the second week of the season on a Wednesday for a game against Detroit, they might need some help. And I'm still available. I keep telling them I'm still available. When they don't have 2 of their others, I'm ready to go. Talk about it here on the PHLY Sixers podcast this afternoon. Welcome, along with Derek Bodner, Kyle Newbeck. I'm Devon Givens, Brianna producing, all of you in the chat. And you better believe it, we got an update. And you don't like the update on what's going on with no Paul George, no Joel Embiid against the Detroit Pistons on Wednesday. Unclear about Saturday against the Memphis Grizzlies before they travel west for their 3-game road trip. But for tomorrow, the return of Tobias Harris, Derek, it's the return of Tobias Harris, not the return of Paul George and Joel Embiid.
Yeah, so we were at practice, about 2 hours ago, and we got an update that neither Joel Embiid or Paul George would be available for Wednesday's game. What was the official? I don't have it in front of me. It was something along the lines of they were did part of practice. Kyle will get to it in a second.
I can read the full statement.
But
in a
basically,
second,
that they were not going to play on Wednesday, and further updates would be provided later in the week. And then we got to Nick Nurse, and he said no. He just said no questions about Joel Embiid. We tried to ask a follow-up. As Dave Uram was asking that follow-up, he cut him off and said, I'm not answering it. And then we moved on to the rest of the press conference.
So this is the full statement from the Sixers. Joel Embiid and Paul George are out tomorrow versus Detroit. They participated in portions of practice today and will be reassessed later in the week. And Nick Nurse refused to answer anything about what those situations looked like, what those portions looked like. Did they scrimmage? We didn't even get to hear the phrase individualized plan, which has become one of the themes of the season already. I mean, this is just a Looney Tunes situation.
It is that press conference today was a joke.
And I want to make sure that I try to parse through this a little bit, right? I think on the one hand, I do get why Nick Nurse individually would be annoyed on multiple fronts. One, he wants to coach what we would say is the real version of the 76ers with all the stars, where the role players can be role players, where Tyrese Maxey doesn't have to shoot 35 times for you to have a chance in a game. He wants to focus on that and focus on coaching rather than, hey, I have to be the man to the media explaining this is the state of this guy's health, this is the state of that guy's health. So when he has lashed out, whether it's, he got annoyed with me recently, he got annoyed with Dave Uram today, with Kai Carlin. I understand all of that to a certain degree, but you being annoyed at doing a part of your job doesn't mean it's not part of your job. And you effectively are the spokesman for the organization as it relates to Joel's health, right? Because Daryl Morey is not available except for a few times per season, right? Talk to him in the offseason. We'll talk to him around the trade deadline, around the draft, heading into the playoffs, so on and so forth. Talk to him at media day. By and large, the guy who has to talk to people between now and end of the season is Nick Nurse. And Nick is saying absolutely nothing. And I know that I already went on a long rant about this when the season started, about the plan. And it has just gotten even more infuriating the more time goes, the more you actually try to if you try to give them the benefit of the doubt. And they've said publicly, hey, the way that we handled, or that Nick and the Raptors handled Kawhi Leonard in 2018-19 is one of the blueprints for, how you might handle Joel Embiid this season. Do you know when the first game Kawhi Leonard missed was that season that was not part of a back-to-back? It was 3 months into the year. Their season started on October 17th. The first non-back-to-back game Kawhi Leonard missed was January 17th. You are not following any model. You are not following any plan that has been based off of another player or another team. As far as we can tell, There is no plan. You are making it up day by day because you can't sit here. Again, I hate to rehash this over and over and over again. You can't sit here, say that this is the plan. Joel's on schedule. And then have no explanation for why he is now going to miss at least the first 4 games of the season. We have no expectation or information on, will he scrimmage? Will he be prepared to play Saturday against Memphis? They just keep pushing off any kind of explanation. And here's the real problem to me. Like, we've had a lot of people, some in chat, some on social media, wherever it might be, who, as we press on this issue and we criticize the Sixers, will say, well, he's not playing. That's the end of the discussion. You don't have to push on it anymore. Like, move on. That's not true, because their thesis for this season is that they have a plan. The whole basis behind how they are treating Joel Embiid and his health, like they're the nuclear codes, like they're protecting secrets that we don't want Russia and China to know or something, is that they believe this is the best thing to keep Joel Embiid healthy for April, May, and June. But you can't even be bothered to explain the why, the what, and the how that looks like. So it looks like you're just making all of this up on the fly. And the rest of the year, anytime that you say, this is planned rest, this is a part of the schedule, this is part of how we're managing him, everybody who follows this team has the right to look at you and say, why should we believe you? You said all preseason, he's on schedule, everything's progressing as it should, and then have nothing when the season starts and he's not there. So when you get to January, when you get to March and Joel misses, it could just be a game. There will be people who rightfully panic and say, is he going to miss 2 weeks? Is he more hurt than they're letting on? It is a complete failure from this organization to be transparent as they could possibly be, understanding that the player has say in all this, understanding that there are various factors that go on here. Why should anyone trust you? The answer is they shouldn't.
Aaron in the chat bringing up a good point. They don't have a plan. They have the concepts of a plan.
Oh, okay. Well,
which honestly feels like a pretty apt description.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to training camp. If anybody wasn't with us in training camp, and you go back to what Nick Nurse said, Kyle, you brought it up the other day, where Nurse said that, hey, I'm going to say what I say right now about the injuries, the injury reports, etc., and address this right now. And I hope that we understand that this is really the last time that I'd like to address this right now. That was impossible, especially if this was going to play out the way that is currently playing out, with them delivering their statements and not giving enough information. Joel Embiid in the building, but not playing. Paul George also. And the Paul George part, that's a little different. We saw the bone bruise happen. You wait for him to come back, and they've addressed that one the way they have addressed it. But it's really the Embiid part, again, where you could have handled it so much differently, and people are ticked off, rightfully so. We talked about the money being paid by the fan base, and here we are again, where we're about to have 2 games at home and possibly neither one of them on the floor, especially Joel Embiid, after having that time off this offseason after Team USA. So that's where all of the frustration comes in, and then delivering and not sharing. And it goes back to also the rebuild era, where everything kept happening, the bad stuff. Let's just talk about the bad stuff during the rebuild era, when Jahlil Okafor was getting in trouble, Nerlens Noel, Michael Carter-Williams, these things were happening off the court, and so on and so forth. And Brett Brown was the one answering the questions instead of Sam Hinkie. You know Sam Hinkie? Sam Hinkie liked to stay out of any and everything except for the one time in the beginning of the season to address what he needed to. And then it came to Brett Brown. And Brett Brown would get some sympathy from a lot of people of, why is he answering this question? Why is he the one out here as the face?
Right? Nick shouldn't have to answer all the questions either, for 100%.
But you have to answer it. And you have to be, he is PR trained as well enough to know how to answer this without being ticked off about it, where he cuts off reporters from asking the question and just simply saying something to give them something to go off of. And that just adds on to it. And we're only officially 1 week in from the start of the NBA season, and look at this. Not only is Kyle blowing up, Derek's frustrated, I'm frustrated. all of you are frustrated about how things are going. Now, we show it differently and we express it in different ways. Better believe, I'm disappointed that he hasn't played yet. And then the way that they're, again, sharing the information that should be pretty easy here for this type of thing.
Yeah. So to your point, like Brett Brown used to get a lot of sympathy and Sam Hinkie would take heat. But none of the GMs since then have been any better. It's not like we're getting detailed medical updates from Daryl Morey.
Yeah,
this is a problem that has continued on and on and on. And to me, there's three possible explanations for why Nick took the route he did. The first is that he's just sick of talking about it. Too bad. That's part of your job. And quite frankly, like sometimes
I'm sick of dealing with you, and we still
we're every day.
Vice versa.
I'm here every day, even though. And sometimes
too bad. It's part of your job.
Suck it up.
Sometimes fans will be like, "Oh, well, I wouldn't want to talk to media." It doesn't matter. We're not angry because our job's more difficult. If anything,
I'm also not angry that Joel's not playing. Like,
right.
If he's hurt or he hasn't, if you can't play, you can't play. Nobody can control the state of Joel Embiid's knee.
But also, if anything, he just made our jobs easier because this show pretty much wrote itself. We're angry for the fans who care about this team, who just want to know where their stars are in terms of returning, who just want to buy tickets and be able to make an informed speculation on, let's say I want to buy tickets from a week from now. Well, how would you have any idea whether he's going to play? You can't. So I'm just striking that one out. If you don't feel like talking about it, too bad. It's part of your job. Unless you're going to make Daryl Morey available, unless you're going to make someone from the medical department available, that's part of your job. It sucks, but not all of your job is going to be rosy and fun. The other is there's an investigation because of Joel Embiid missing the national TV game. Not applicable here. The Pistons are not national TV game. You can talk.
Understatement of the century.
And by the way, a lot of teams talk about injuries and don't get fined. The fact that you have failed to talk about it in a way that didn't draw the league's ire in the past doesn't excuse you from talking about it in the future. You still have a responsibility to your fan base to communicate that in a way where you won't get fined. And also, it is just not acceptable to sit here. I looked it up. They got fined $75,000 last year when Joel Embiid missed that Denver Nuggets game. The typical fine is $25,000. They got fined more because it's a repeat problem. Josh Harris has $75,000 in random parts of his house. If you're sitting here and saying that you're not going to talk because you're worried about the investigation, maybe getting fined in the future, how is it worth putting your fans through what you're putting them through right now? And how is it worth, to Kyle's point, because I agree, why should they ever trust you in the future regarding injuries when you will not provide the updates that they're looking for? Is that not worth $75,000 to Josh Harris? Are you kidding me? There's just no reasonable explanation for this. You have a job. It's part of your responsibility as a head coach. Do the job. Just do the job.
Also, by the way, if you had done your job, you wouldn't be under investigation because there would have been a clear, again, not to use it's like the dirty word. The plan would have been clear, not just to the media, not just to the fans. It would have been clear to the league. If the league feels they need to look into this, they are effectively saying you failed. You did not do good enough by the public, whoever the public might be. So again, not everybody is going to view this with the same way, the same level of scrutiny. I think one of the really terrible things that has happened is this fan base was excited. People were pumped up for this season. There are still some skeptics, right, of an older Paul George, does Joel Embiid stay healthy, all that. But there was a general level of excitement heading into this season. I mean, even the first Paul George preseason game, people are like, oh, that's why they went and got him. And the Paul George thing is different, right? Where we saw the injury, you can explain it away as hey, they're being cautious with him, but we know that there was something there. For there to be a complete absence of information and explanation for Joel Embiid is just you're asking for people to get mad and get frustrated and lose not just the trust in the messaging, but their excitement for the team. And that has all kinds of downstream effects, right? I know that they're probably frustrated about, look, they are trying to win a championship. They're spending they gave Paul George a max contract. They're an apron team. It's not like they're, trying to squeeze under the salary cap and things like that. to do all that and ostensibly try to compete. And then the fan base is just like, well, these guys aren't serious about winning. I guarantee you they're frustrated with that, but a lot of that is their own doing. They have nobody to blame but themselves.
Joel Embiid is not going to play basketball for the first week and a half of the regular season, and all we've been told is it's part of his plan, and we won't answer any follow-up questions about it. Are you kidding me? Like, this is just, when you break it down, this is absolutely patently absurd.
All right, well, when we get back, because we still have much to get to, we're going to read some of our super chats, but also one that I saw in the regular chat that I want to share with you guys, because some people, they don't care. They don't mind it. I'll explain a little bit more when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. And I don't know what direction you were going, thinking maybe, hey, I can bet tomorrow and bet on George, maybe Embiid against Detroit, and place a little wager in their first game back against the lowly Detroit Pistons. Well, you might have to go in another direction like Tyrese Maxey and a few others. You can do that with our good friends from Bet365. Never ordinary, like the Philadelphia basketball team. Has over 90 million users worldwide, does Bet365. They are the presenting sponsor of this show, and they also have live streams of 780,000 events each year. And with the live in-game betting, you get it in your box right there in the corner of your phone as you check it out, because you have the app. I know you do. That you have the live in-game visual of the game to make the bet as the game is going on. It's a great feature. Today, Bet365 offers the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. And right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use the code PHLY365 to sign up. Deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $200 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets, they can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and much more. And once again, I have to tell you, because I want to make sure you're all set, download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 so you can spread the word when you sign up to get $200 in those bonus bets when you bet $5, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Never before have we had to choose chill like we have to choose chill today. Well, thankfully, after we decide to take a step back, reevaluate our lives, reevaluate Joel Embiid's left knee, you can always look into that refrigerator and reach for an ice cold Coors Light. And with Coors Light, you know you're getting an ice cold beer when the mountains turn blue on the bottles and cans. Right as they hit that perfect temperature, guys, I certainly could use a nice ice cold beer right now. Some mountain cold refreshment, shall we say. And we're going to have plenty of ups and downs this season. If you haven't been able to tell from today, even the Indiana game, right, where Tyrese Maxey comes out and he's not playing well at all for 2.5 straight games to open the year. And then that second half comes and Maxey goes off. He has a 45-point game. He saves the team. He saves the day. They get the win. The vibes are back. Maybe we just all need to remember to choose chill and take a step back as we're in the middle of all this stressful stuff. And Coors Light is cold layered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smooth finish, no matter what your stress levels are. So when you choose to rise above it all, choose chill, choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Choose chill, everybody. Like our good friend in the chat, Yo Q PHLY. Let's read this before we get to our super chats, because Yo Q Phil says in caps here, I don't care. Rest all you need to. Rest Embiid. That's the end of the caps. I don't need an explanation. It is what it is. We're focused on the playoffs. If he's still not playing in December, then I'll care.
Saying you don't need an explanation when this organization has hidden that Joel had a meniscus injury in the past, which, by the way, Derek was the one who had to uncover that he had a partially torn meniscus. is a stupid thing to say.
And
I'm
which,
sorry.
by the way, that injury ended up keeping him out for the rest of the season, and they were hiding it.
And that's not saying they're hiding an injury, right? No. What we're saying is, of course, it matters to be transparent about his health, because they have tried to be as opaque as they can possibly be throughout his career. And at times that has had really negative consequences. And at times that has meant something is going on that is a lot more than they're showing you or telling you. And this other thing, right? Like, I get the playoffs matter more. You can't just look, you're losing me when it's like, well, punt the regular season. Who cares? You can't just wake up in mid-April and it's like, hey, we're a contending team. That is not how sports work. It's certainly not how basketball works. You can have all the talent in the world. If you can't build a cohesive team over the next 6 months or so, it does not matter if they're all healthy in mid-April, because teams that have spent 6-7 months working on all their ins and outs, all their plays, all their rotations will have a leg up on you, whether you are more talented or not.
And even if that ends up happening, you have to update the fans on why he can't play basketball until December.
He did.
I don't care that
he thinks.
I mean, look, would I prefer if Joel played? Yeah, I enjoy watching basketball more when he plays than when he doesn't. But I'm mostly upset not because he's missing this game tomorrow. Because quite frankly, now look, we got burned by this against the Raptors, but quite frankly, it's the Pistons. You should be able to take care of business.
Oh, he said that about the Raptors. So,
I just want the fans to get the information that they should be able to get from an organization that is terrible at this.
And has been here before. They've had to deal with injuries for quite some time. They've been here before. They should know how to express that. Jake M in the super chat does say, maybe if Joel lost 30 pounds 2 years ago, we wouldn't have to be dealing with this quote unquote plan. All right. Well, maybe.
Look, I think we're all on like team be lighter Joel, but like you can't guarantee me that wouldn't have still had injuries.
And again, I want to be clear here. The fault that we're laying here is not at Joel Embiid's feet. It's not, why isn't, like, he's not tough enough. He's not. You will never hear that come out of our mouths. It's certainly not out of mine. I can't speak for the other two, but I'm pretty sure they feel the same way on this. If he can't play, he cannot play. I will reiterate that over and over again. But if he can't play, it can't just be like, shrug the shoulders. Who knows what's going on? It's part of the plan. Like, that's just complete nonsense. And the way you know it's nonsense, the NBA has treated it as if it's nonsense and said, hey, sorry, that's not good enough. You're getting investigated. So that's the biggest tell that what they have done and how they've handled this is not the right way to go about it.
Sixers official statement from MBD says...
That's his whole name?
Well, it's a lot of
MBD, BDBF.
Oh, no.
Our friend.
Yeah, it's just a lot of, I always say MDB and just leave it there.
No, I know.
And so he isn't playing, and
go F yourself.
Go bleep yourself. That's the official statement from MBD, saying that that's the Sixers official statement. It's not actually the Sixers official statement.
I mean, it basically is. Like, he summarized it pretty well, I think.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. But I mean, look, a lot of people, though, to your point of the Joel part, there are fans, though, as the 30-pound part comes up for Jake M, that says, again, if he was in better shape, none of this would have happened. Or if he didn't play in the Olympics, we wouldn't be here. That's the other side. That's where people are going to go, and who have been tired of Embiid this entire time after all these injuries and lack of advancement in the postseason. These are the things that, see, here we go again, and part of it is his fault. That's where people are going to go. But if they communicate,
we can't even get into those conversations because they can't be honest with us about, not to repeat what we said the last time we had a show like this, but if he was okay to play in the Olympics, you were happy that he went. There was no setback.
Right.
He's on schedule in the preseason. Then how are we here?
Why is he not playing a single game in October?
It does not make sense. So you have to square that in some way, shape, or form. Either he shouldn't have played in the Olympics, and playing in the Olympics is part of why we're here, that it delayed his start to the preseason, it pushed things back. And again, like I said before, people would be upset about it, but you could at least be like, I understand that happened. You can't change the past. We move forward from here. But nobody can even admit what is going on here. It's just a whole lot of talking in circles, or most of the time, not talking at all.
And again, those people that Devon brought up, the ones who will just, say he's soft or whatever because he's injured a lot, which, by the way, I disagree with almost completely. Like I've said it time and again, a guy playing through constant injuries is the opposite. He might be injury prone, but I would never in a million use a guy who's fighting injuries throughout his entire career call him soft. He's literally probably in pain every time he plays basketball. You're never going to win those people over. Like, you're never going to message an injury and be like, oh, well, I thought he was soft before, but because the Sixers got the right messaging out on this injury report, I now am a Joel Embiid believer. You're not worried when you're thinking of how you're going to PR this. You're not worried about those fans. You're worried about the fans who believe in him, who want to be excited about this team, who want to be excited to watch Joel Embiid play basketball. Keep them happy. Keep them feel like they are, up to date. Keep them feel like they are being respected. Those are the fans that you have to worry about. It's just a slap in the face.
And as Kyle said, the ones that were already there, everybody, the excitement that was on a level 10 to start the season, even with Joel maybe missing a couple of games, knowing about the back-to-backs, but Paul George being ready for the start of the season for the opener, that a lot of that is gone now. So if one of them were able to play, or at least you communicated, got some wins under your belt, when they did come back, seeing a good product on the floor, the fans that were already in are happy. And then when they started to win, the ones that you are talking about, Derek, where they have their questions, maybe they're like, oh, okay, I know it's not the playoffs, but this is a fun team, a fun product to watch right now. And now I'm also in. And while they still may get there, there's no need for this part of it 6 days into the season where there are people ticked off because, again, the message is not being shared the way that it should be.
And look, to some level, it's calculated, right? Because if Joel just wasn't going to play the first 2 weeks, you easily could have said last Monday or Tuesday, he's not playing the first 4 games. What they did was, he won't play the opening weekend, and we'll come back in a week. Oh, now he's not playing against the Pistons, and you'll get an update here. And it just back and back and back and back, despite the fact that this is part of the plan and he's on schedule, and big time air quotes around basically everything they say. We have people who are in our Discord, who we're talking with people regularly in there about what's going on with this team, who are like, look, I saw what was said. I see what you guys have relayed from the team. You see something from, someone like Ramona Shelburne, for example, at ESPN, who everyone sort of knows is tight with Joel and learns things from Joel from time to time, who's saying, I think Paul and Joel will be back soon. And people start buying tickets. Like, we have people in the Discord, hey, I bought tickets for the Memphis game because all the messaging, all the seeing Joel out on the practice floor, all that suggests to me he's going to be ready to play, or he is ready to play, and he's going to be back, only for them to just be like, well, come back in a few days and maybe we'll let you know what's going on here. And so if I have anger on behalf of the fans, and not all the fans are the same, you can just see that from the chat.
Yep.
If I have anger for the fans, it's because there are people who are trying to make decisions to support this team, to use their hard-earned money to go see these guys play, and then they spend it, and the team says, sorry, nothing we can do, no explanation, no nothing. We're more worried about Josh Harris's helicopter fuel money than you, the paying customer. It's an insult to people who are still invested, who do care about these games, and who want to go, whether it's by themselves, with their family, with their friends, to go see a team that they love play. And I think it's nonsense.
A comment from Phila fans in the chat. How is it people don't understand injuries, especially knee injuries? There is no rhyme or reason when knee pain crops up. Knee pain is debilitating. The ramp up to the season could increase pain. I agree with you. Our issue is they have never acknowledged that there was any problem with the ramp up. They have never given an explanation why he won't play 5-on-5 at any point in the month of October. There's been no explanation for any of it. There's certainly explanations for why Embiid is not playing. A big part of our issue is that they refuse to communicate those reasons. It's not just about, we really don't care much that Joel Embiid is missing games in October. I really don't. They have a chance to be 2-2 after this one tomorrow. That happens.
They frankly
that's
probably
fine.
should be
They
2-2 after tomorrow.
I just care about the messaging and setting expectations. And I've said this time and time again. If you don't give the fans any information, they and the media and everyone on Twitter and social media will fill it in with the worst possible details. If your actual goal here is to control the narrative, you're going about it in the absolute worst possible way. And the fans deserve better. They just deserve better.
They absolutely do. So we're going to do a little better here on this show here, right, for the rest of the show. We've gotten a lot of conversation, and we might. I mean,
we'll try.
We'll leave it up to them to think.
One more thing before we move on from this. Another example of how they have let people down in the past in a similar way. Do you remember a couple years ago? I actually think I was on my honeymoon at this point, but they started slow. The first full or the only full James Harden
This
season.
was the one I referenced yesterday.
They started slow.
Spurs in Game 3.
Doc Rivers comes out during a presser after they had not acknowledged any issues for Joel and said, oh, he was dealing with plantar fasciitis, so that's why he's not in shape. It's like, well, don't you think maybe that probably should have communicated at some point that he's dealing with that, and instead of like, it's an excuse for when you're failing? And that's the only time people in this organization tend to step up and tell the truth, is when somebody's boot is on their neck and they're saying, what the hell is going on here? Why are you flailing around and failing? Oh, well, now it's time to make an excuse. Be proactive. People can accept the truth. People want the truth in most cases. It might sting a little bit immediately, but they will forgive you for telling the truth and having to work through a problem. What people don't forgive you for is consistently misleading and hiding and not telling you what is going on. Because then when you actually need them to accept your version of the truth, that's what they will treat it as, your version of the truth, not the actual truth.
There you have it. Yes. This has been going on for a while, and Kyle is exactly right. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We come right back, and we will get to a little bit more of the current team that is playing on the floor and playing in games, getting ready for the game tomorrow. We're going to talk about the Sixers through the first 3 games and how they look with a little stock report. We're going to bring it back. The visors are coming back, everybody. Be ready when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
First up, we want to tell you about TrueMark because they have a rewards Visa credit card that you should know about. With the TrueMark Financial Rewards Visa credit card, you can earn rewards for each purchase using the TrueMark Financial Rewards Visa credit card and redeem them for travel and retail gift cards. Build credit through timely payments and low credit utilization, and you can enjoy fraud protection with features like zero liability. Here are some of the other saving options that they have at TrueMark Financial. They have a traditional savings account, which is a basic savings account offering a place to deposit funds, earn interest, and withdraw money as needed. There's also a money market account, which combines features of savings and checking accounts offering higher interest rates and limited check writing capabilities, easy access to your money when you need it. And then finally, there is a certificate, which is a fixed-term deposit account with a predetermined interest rate and maturity date, offering higher interest rates for locking in funds for a specific period. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender. For more information, visit truemark.com/PHLY.
Well, the LA baseball team is up 3-0 in the championship round, and they might be closing things out tonight. A lot of people were worried about the star player from LA after he hurt his shoulder. I told you I was going to make a phone call and make sure he was good to go for the game last night. Rothman Orthopedics, they can do that for you. Just like he was able to get back out there trying to close out this series, they're going to try that tonight. Well, you go to a place like Rothman, you'll be back better than ever, so you can also feel that championship experience. Rothman proudly serves dozens of communities across Pennsylvania and New Jersey with 30 convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers. So if you don't feel like it's too bad, or you don't want to wait until in the ER and you can't get there, these are close to you. They're very convenient and easy for you to just walk in and get taken care of and be looked at to make sure you're good to go. Year over year, Rothman consistently performs among the highest volume of hip, knee, shoulder, like the LA player, and ankle replacements in the country, over 60,000 as they take care of you. It's not just the volume of 255,000 of new patients and consults that Rothman is proud of, but instead it's their commitment to improving each of those patients' lives through their service and care. And for more than 50 years, Rothman has participated in thousands of groundbreaking research and clinical trials with the goal of advancing the knowledge, developing treatments, and improving outcomes for the benefit of their patients. Rothman Orthopedics, they specialize in orthopedics and you. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today.
All right, is the ranting portion of the program over? Or?
I'm done.
You can never really predict it.
No?
Something could set Kyle or I off.
Well, we still have.
Mostly me. We all know I'm the most volatile one on this show.
We still have time where we're talking about them, so it could naturally just come right back into the conversation. Well, we haven't seen it in a while. You haven't seen it in a while. It's time for us to get back to our fun. It's time for our first run at Stock Up, Stock Down for the Philadelphia.
I was annoyed by injury updates. I'm going to be really annoyed by wearing these stupid hats.
As we look at some of these players and the coaching staff, maybe more, as we discuss what's going on with the basketball team, and we have our stock report hats, right?
The accountants have logged on.
They have logged on, everybody. So let's get ready for some stock up.
This thing has seen better days.
Stock down for the Philadelphia 76ers. And the first one, I always have these, and the guys never know what direction I'm going to go in, of who I'm going to throw out there.
You're just going to sit there and do your taxes next?
Just going to sit. That's
That's what I think every time I see these damn visors.
All right, stock up, stock down. Let's start off with a big name. Go Tyrese Maxey, Derek Bodner. Right out of the chute. Where do we go?
I feel like it's stock neutral, honestly. I think that's
if you had to pick one, it would probably – he is shooting like 33% from the field or something like that.
I mean, so if we were a true like financial analysis show, this is where you
would
just
not
advise
make any trades
a
based
hold.
on this. Yes.
You don't buy, but you don't sell. You advise a hold on Tyrese Maxey.
A hold on Tyrese Maxey, especially when
Mad
you
money with PHLY
40
Sixers.
plus in the game in overtime to make sure you secure your first win of the season. Yeah, I mean, look, he's been struggling from the field, and he really turned it up, though, in that game against the Pacers on Sunday.
We were limited to these two options. Look, he's played 2.5 bad games of basketball, one good half of basketball. Overall, on balance, that would be a down. It changes probably none of our opinions on Tyrese Maxey overall. Maybe a little bit on whether or not he's ready to carry a team without Embiid, but no real change in my opinion. But just based on what he's done over the first week, it would almost have to be a stock.
So friends who are in the Discord with us, I irritated friend of the show, Michael Bede, the first night of the year with a comment about Tyrese and, living up to the job of being a number one. But like, here's the thing. I don't really care what Tyrese Maxey looks like as a solo number one. The concept of this team only works if all of the 3 stars are healthy and ready to go, right? I care about Tyrese, showing some progress, being able to be productive enough to help this team win on the nights that the other stars are out. But in terms of like what it all means and looking toward the playoffs and everything else, the only thing that matters are the games when they have all of them, right? Because that's when I'm going to say, hey, I think they should win like 3/4 of their games when their 3 stars are available. And that's when I'll grade all these guys either very harshly or very positively based on how they look. So it was great to see Tyrese break out of the slump in the second half against Indiana. And frankly, I loved seeing the emotion out of him, right? Not that he's like a emotionless player, right? We've seen that before. But to see him just unload all that first 2.5 games, really struggling on both ends of the floor, to get the shots to go down and not only lead them on offense, but made some big defensive plays in the second half as well. If we're just judging that half, it's like, hey, stock up. But I think based on the first week, I think he's just neutral-ish and waiting for the cavalry to arrive.
And look, even the question of could he be a number one isn't really being answered right now. What you're finding out is could he be a number one when Kelly Oubre is number 2 and KJ Martin is in the starting lineup with Andre Drummond? That's a team would never be built this way if they weren't built around other stars who aren't in the lineup.
He's going to have number one outcomes sometimes where he is really, really good and has 40 plus against the team. Then he's going to have those other nights where he does have 25. but he shoots 24 shots to get that 25. Doesn't look good. The field goal percentage is terrible, turning the basketball over, shooting horribly from behind the three-point line. You're going to have those nights. He's not ready to lead a franchise in that way, but he can do it when the other guys are off the floor for a short amount of time, not necessarily like we saw last season, an extended period of time when Joel Embiid was off the floor. So stock neutral for Tyrese Maxey to start things off here on Stock Up.
Absolutely do not sell your Tyrese Maxey stock. That's what I would say.
No, and go check out the ALLCITY store to get your Mad Max, as Bree put it up there, the T-shirt.
Someone mentioned it in the chat, but if you're doing anything, buy the dip. If there's going to be a dip, buy the dip.
All right, there you go. All right, let's go to another one. He actually was our Rothman Who Won the Week winner for the first part of the season, Gershon Yabusele. So I think it kind of...
Do we have to play this fake little dance where, I don't know, maybe I should
show the card a little bit, but then go that way and stock up.
I would say stock up. Now, the only way I'd hedge against this position would be to say, boy, it sure would be nice if he shot a little better, because the three-point shot has not been there early. But I think what we wanted to see from him as an energy effort role player, that's all been there. And I think the Indiana game was the best example of that. 3 of his offensive rebounds directly turned into threes for the Sixers, right? Where not only did he get in there and mix it up, but he immediately had his head up and swing pass, skip pass, whatever he needed to do to get it to an open shooter. And so it's not just the physical force part of it, right? That you want that and you expect that from a guy built like him. But how do you turn that into points, and how do you turn that into productive offense? I think the good thing has been, in spite of the lack of his shooting, he's been able to make plays as a passer and be, frankly, probably the best screener on the team.
By far.
And I don't even think it's been close. To make a difference in those ways where once he's in more of his natural role and once some shots start to go down, frankly, I think his stock will rise even further.
And I think with the shooting part, for his first 3 games, okay, it's what it is. He's still getting used to it, although he has had a full training camp preseason. It's only 3 games in. We never said he was going to be a high or low 40% three-point shooter. Overall, he's still getting used to it. He's thrown in there. And there may be some different looks, too. Again, look, they're open, but the ball may swing a little bit differently when the other guys are out there. If he's out there next to Joel Embiid, if he's out there with Paul George and Tyrese Maxey at the same time, things might look a little differently. When he was brought here and we discussed his value and what he could really do, is because of the other stuff that Kyle just mentioned. And not to pick on a guy who's also going to be back tomorrow, probably going to get a welcome home video for Paul Reed. A lot of times what Paul Reed would do is he would try to go right back up with that. He works hard to get the offensive rebound, but then he just takes away from it all by trying to get a quick shot off when it probably wasn't the right idea at the time. Yabusele does look for the others to get them a better look at the basket and put the points on the board. And he'll get worked in another way, like getting those outside shots that they encourage him to take and some other things that he could potentially do as well. So definitely stock up for Yabusele.
Yeah, he has showed that his hustle, his fight, his toughness will show up in an NBA game. Next thing is whether or not his three-point shot will. I'm still relatively optimistic on the corner 3. I think the above the break one is going to take some time.
Yeah.
And by take some time, I mean, there's a question mark. Who knows whether or not he will ever be able to get there. We hope that he will, but I think at the very least, it will take some time. That's where you really see a little bit of hesitation. That's when, he passes up a shot. It usually comes from there. And quite frankly, that's where he's come up short when he has let him fly. So that's the key.
And I do think when he's playing more minutes at the 4, he'll just take that shot, or he'll be in a position to take that shot less, because more than likely
he'll be in the corner.
You're positioning him in the corner or in the dunker spot, not above the break as basically a stretch 5. So I think that should get cleared up over time.
All right, let's get to our next candidate here for the stock up, stock down. Interesting one. Caleb Martin, first 3 games in the Sixers uniform. Didn't start. He started the last 2 games after not starting the first one. He's had some good games, had some questionable moments as well, like the end of the Pacers game where he had the what moment of fouling Tyrese Halliburton. So stock up, stock down, neutral maybe for Caleb Martin.
I think I lean hold on Caleb
I almost
Do it, Derek.
You want to be Mr. Negative?
Do it. It's 3 games. He can improve. He has 2 more games this week.
All right, fine. You talked me into it. Mostly because of the decision making. The decision making has just been very inconsistent, especially that game against the Raptors game. You know, the second game against the Raptors, it was, I think, a little bit of a shock, not only because Tyrese struggled for the second game in a row, but the role players just didn't do role playery things. All of the vets that you were counting on for their decision making weren't there. So the combination of Tyrese struggling for 2 in a row, and then also the role players not filling the roles that you expect them to do was, whoa, what's going on here? And they came back, and Tyrese obviously had that incredible second half, and the role players just played a much more fundamentally sound game, and they were in better position. And a lot of that change from game 2 to game 3 was a big part Caleb. Not only Caleb, there are other role players, veterans, they were disappointed against the Raptors, but Caleb was a big part of it. So, you know, I think I've just questioned his decision-making a little more over these first 3 games than I expected. Part of it is that he is just being asked to self-create more than he ever will be when your stars are healthy. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the decision-making I'm questioning isn't really guys playing outside of their comfort zone because they were forced into. It's really on the defensive end. And for that reason alone, I would go stock down. But again, has it changed my evaluation of him? No, not at all. It's just 3 games.
Yeah, that's it's stock down for the immediate term, but it's a definite hold over the longer term. I agree with Derek, and I think one of the big problems, and look, there's no way around it. They need guys other than Tyrese Maxey to initiate. And Caleb had some moments in that Indiana game where he's got a guy on an island, gets right to the rim, scores, and that works out really well. And then he had some moments where he ends up in traffic, and it's like, well, what the heck do I do? And I think the only thing that's been a little disappointing has been, as you know, as Derek alluded to, he's supposed to be one of the guys that's like, you're offering stability, you're offering some veteran savvy, and he's had a little too many moments where you're like, what the heck is going on there? But I do think that some of that is just being asked to do too much, having too much responsibility on his plate. I still am a firm believer in the, not just like the on-court leadership, but off the floor. We hear so many things about him as a vocal leader in practice and getting through concepts and leading by example in every way you can as a vet role player. So I think certainly over time that'll stabilize. It just, you know, it circles back to you need the stars on the floor so that they can be the stars, and guys like Caleb can just focus on all the little things that they should be focusing on.
He's playing up a level, and he probably shouldn't be making those decisions when he is making those decisions as often as he's making those decisions. So therefore, of course, when it's a close game like it has been against the Indiana Pacers, and then the mistakes that were made in a game like the Toronto Raptors, they're just going to be highlighted as they should. And therefore, that's why the stock is down slightly for Caleb Martin. It's only 3 games. Again, we make sure we make that point, that disclaimer that it's only 3 games, but when he's out there with everyone else and less of a role of being a shot creator for other people and himself, we're probably talking more stock up than stock down during the duration of the season for Caleb Martin.
And again, stocks are just very of the moment. Like they go up, they go down. A lot of times it doesn't impact.
There's a reason most investors are better served by buying something and never looking at their portfolio for 25 years. So don't day trade.
So you're saying Joel Embiid will be a better basketball player 25 years from now than he is now?
No.
That would have been a hot take.
That certainly would be a hot take.
All right, stock up, stock down. First time we've gotten a chance to see Jared McCain in the Sixers uniform, the rookie. Good moments against the Indiana Pacers. Then he kind of, all right, go to the bench a little bit here, young fella. After a few mistakes, he's a rookie. First couple of games, stock up, stock down, or are we still holding because it is so early for Jared McCain?
I think I'll go stock up.
Okay.
I think the most important thing that I saw over the weekend was that first half stretch against Indiana, where granted they are a smaller team. They play a lot of guards, so there are going to be opportunities to mix it up physically, even if you're a small guard like Jared is. But his instincts as a rebounder, his strength, the stuff that we heard and saw at Duke, that you're like, is that stuff actually going to translate? Because it's one thing to be a good rebounder as a guard in college, where most of the guys you're playing against are going to be like accountants, and maybe they maybe some of the higher end guys go to Europe, or a lot of them are just going to be working regular jobs. Their lives will not be basketball. So what does it look like against NBA athletes? Well, for him to go in the first half of that game and create some extra possessions, be as physical a guy as he was able to be, frankly, stripped Pascal Siakam on that one post up where he's got him sealed, and it looks like, that's going to be an easy 2 points. And I think you even made a comment as we're watching the game together, and then Jared forces a turnover, and so you can see him holding up in that way. I am worried about his ability to defend guards, right? Like, he has struggled with speed early on.
They're running right by him.
They're just, guys are blowing past him. And so that is definitely a concern. We have not seen the shot make an impact quite yet, but under the assumption that's going to come, I do like that we've seen some signs that he can hang physically with these guys, because that's going to play a huge role in whether he can make it in this league.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm kind of glad you went stock up, because some of the perimeter defense has been a little discouraging. And one of the real
No, they
concerns,
run right by him.
Yeah.
It
has not been good.
and that's one of the real concerns you had for him. It's like, I love his toughness.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way he'll get after it defensively. I love that he will compete for rebounds. He hasn't made a three yet, right? He hasn't taken very many, but still, he hasn't made a shot. I'm confident in a shot. I need to find out whether or not, because I also believe, like, I'm not going to say he's going to be a lead guard, but I think he has at least decent connected passing. I need to find out whether he can hang defensively. And some of the stuff that when you have more experience as a perimeter defender, you will be able to anticipate moves, you will take better angles, you will get better at it. But a lot of it isn't really the team stuff that coaches fret about with young players. A lot of it's just like, that guy that you're trying to defend is quicker than you, and he's getting by you, and you're not getting to your spots. That does concern me a little bit, but everything else I'm still optimistic on.
Yeah, and the problem that he's going to have, hopefully he plays well, but the problem he's going to have, again, is whatever's going on in Los Angeles with Dalton Connect and popping up every now and again with a highlight here, highlight there. That's where it's just going to continue to trail him as long as he's in Philadelphia as a Sixer. All right, let's get to one more before we get to our Super Chats, our final one, and we'll go with Kelly Oubre. Stock up, stock down.
I think I know where probably Derek and I both want to go on this one, but
stock up, stock down,
he
everybody.
Scored a lot of points.
Kelly Oubre, and they've needed
He did
points.
play well in the Toronto game. That was a legitimately good game on a night where basically nobody else played well. I will give him that.
But you're not raising that card.
I'm not. At minimum, it's a hold. Or at maximum, it's a hold, I should say.
Yeah, I would probably lean hold on this. My frustrations with Kelly are well known. And for the most part, I do think offensively he was good against the Raptors. Defensively, I thought he was part of the problem. He doesn't shoot the ball well. He takes bad shots. Hasn't learned what a pass is yet. But his defense is the one thing that I have been consistently impressed by. And 2 of the 3 games, I think he's defended pretty well. But he's going to have to do more. And the shot selection is a big part of that. And honestly, defensively against the Raptors, he was just out of position, over aggressive, like it was.
Oh, see, I didn't like him against the Bucks. So that was now they were all kind of a mess against Milwaukee at times. They were playing hard, but I don't want to overcorrect on him after last year where he exceeded expectations, and now it's like, oh, he's a different contract. We got to look at him differently. He is in a role that he should not be on a team that wants to win right now, right? He's basically option 2. Yeah. And that's just not a path to success individually or as a team. I do think once Joel is out there, because that was the thing, right? He opened the season in such a good place because he played so well off of Joel Embiid. He's knocking down shots, but he was also such an active and productive cutter from the corner and the dunker where Joel's passing out of doubles and he's getting layups and dunks. So I think he's one of the guys that will benefit the most from Joel coming back and the double teams coming in the middle of the floor.
Whether or not he can make an open catch and shoot shot will be one of the most interesting things to track throughout the course of the season. Like we've said a lot. And look, my read coming in, didn't like his offense. I actually think, if you remember when they signed him, we were more encouraged by his defense and what he can add there. We thought he was closer to being a contributor there. And even having relatively high expectations for his defense, he blew right past those last year. I give him a lot of credit for that. There's been a lot of stock put into the fact that he shot the ball well when he was playing alongside of Joel Embiid last year. That's great. It's relatively small sample size, and it goes against pretty much the rest of his career. Can he take that? Can he take that space that Joel's going to create for him and the space that Paul's going to create for him, use that to curb some of his worst instincts and make shots at a clip he never has? And if he can do that, he is a very valuable piece of this team. And they need someone who can defend the perimeter like he can. Most of the other even bigger wings don't necessarily move their feet as well as he does. I really hope that he is able to be a positive force on offense when the stars come back. A lot of that's going to come down to shooting, and a lot of shooting is going to come down to shot selection. And if I focus a lot on that going forward, that's why.
And even the defense, I think with him, it's much better if he doesn't have to be the number one option defender. And same thing is also true of Caleb Martin and Paul George. You don't want any of them to be, you start the game on this star and just guard that guy for the entire time you're on the floor. I don't think any of them at present are that level of defender. I think they're guys who are very good defenders in a system where you can trade off responsibilities. You can use your length and your athleticism in the passing lanes and toggle between a high level of responsibility and more of a medium to low level. So I think the focus a lot of times is on offense for good reason, but I think with Paul coming back at some point in the near future, you're going to see a better version of Kelly on that end of the floor as well.
I certainly think the role he's currently in is the role that brings out the most frustrating parts of Oubre for me. But there is still that question, well, if you're going to be a role player and an off-ball role player and the fourth option on the squad, you've got to make shots. So we'll see.
All right, let's get to the super chats that we have a few of them here. Start off with the latest one. Misremembered 72. Is the Embiid investigation related more to the on-court production or gambling? If info leaked, slow ramp, money came in on the season unders. That's our first super chat from Misremembered.
The player participation thing is what he's being investigated for. There's guidelines set out that the team has to follow with their injury reporting. That's where the investigation is stemming from. If you're asking about that rule,
like why it exists,
right?
Yeah.
Certainly, that rule exists both because of the on-court product and because gambling's a much bigger part than it ever has been. I think it's both, and certainly gambling's not a small part of that equation.
Yep, Jake M. We got Jake here saying, "Have you guys heard Shams say that Joe will have a quote-unquote periodic time off during the season, so he's just going to miss like 2 weeks randomly for winter break?"
So to circle back to the Kawhi thing, maybe they will follow the Kawhi plan at some point during the season since they haven't yet. He missed, there was a stretch
22,
of
22, right? I think. Oh, total. Never mind.
He missed a stretch of 4 games in January. It could look more like that, right? Where he could sit out a week. But Jake, I would love to give you a firm answer on this is what it looks like, but it's one of the many things that we are going to have to find out apparently as it happens, because they don't want to reveal anything about what the plan actually looks like. And look, to some degree, I get it. You don't want to just say, mark these on your calendar. Joel Embiid is not playing this. And it's going to be about how his body responds, right? Like there will be a time perhaps where he's just in more pain than normal. And they say, he's not hurt, but let's play it cautious. Let's let his body recover, whatever. That I can't account for today, October 29th. But yes, I would assume that happens at some point.
Here's a stunner, but the team that won't currently tell us whether or not he participated in practice is not being super forthright on whether or not he will miss 2 weeks randomly in the middle of the season, sadly.
All right, we want to tell you about our Die Hard program. Make sure you go sign up right now. $48 special for the first year. Look at that, $48 for the special. Become a Die Hard member where you can check out the written content that's there from Derek Biden and Kyle Neubeck on the Philadelphia 76ers. Bo, Zach, Fran, Les Bowen on the Eagles. You'll get the newsletter from Rich Hoffman every day there at allphly.com. Also, Charlie on the Flyers, Jim Salisbury on the Phillies. So much there. Great writers, great content. Allphly.com. Become a diehard member. You get to go ahead and also get in there and get a shirt if you like. And you can also join the Discord to talk about a variety of different sports topics that are going on right now in Philadelphia sports. So again, sign up for the Die Hard program, allphly.com. Get the great written content from all of our great writers, including these two guys. All right. 2 more super chats from Brian Pumper. What up, Pump? Start off with the I'm not the type of guy my hand when I own money on tickets to watch.
I'm not trying to pay hard-earned money
Dump truck
Kyle and Drummond farming rebounds.
And
I will haunt Josh Harris for an eternity. It is almost Halloween.
It is.
I don't know if we've decided whether we'll wear costumes on the show.
Well, we better decide quickly because I have
Thursday,
nothing
right?
prepared.
Well, I'll just show up in normal clothes and say I have concepts of a costume. So that'll...
Careful. That one started a big brouhaha in the chat.
Well, that's the second time in this show. Yes.
Concepts of a plan.
Yes. And
that's what the Sixers have.
Pump also continues, I don't trust a dude named Joel Embiid. The guy is too busy sipping Shirley Temples, eating falafel. To play ball, Josh Harris will pay for his sins.
Does it take that long to sip a Shirley Temple?
I don't think so.
I think that's what's getting in his way.
And falafel is supposed to be good for you anyway.
Falafel's deep fried. So I guess you could have baked falafel, but then what's the point of eating falafel in the first place? That just seems counterintuitive. Well, just to let you know, B Pump, thank you for the super chats. I'm pretty sure that Joel has been on a diet.
Yeah.
Like has changed.
And he looks good.
Yes. Physically is not, at least looking at him, and as much as you can judge from like his muscle cut, he looks better than he has at the start of most seasons, I would say. Anecdotally, anyway. I just realized Devon was wearing 2 hats, by the way. I don't know how I was. You did a good job of covering the second hat with the Nest doing your taxes visor.
Shirley Temple and falafel is not a big deal. Even while he's out, not worried about that.
I thought he gave up Shirley Temples a while ago.
Yeah,
that might be like a once in a blue moon treat.
Apparently, one soda company in particular makes now a drink that is the Shirley Temple flavor drink. We don't
no free promo.
No free promo. So I'll tell you guys.
I remember way back in the day, we went to a bar with Max Rappaport and we had Shirley Temples.
Hey, shout out Max Rappaport, former Sixers.com.
Former Sixers beat co-host.
What's going on, Max? Yeah. All right.
Hanging out in Seattle these days, I believe.
Still out there?
Yeah. I think so. Last I know.
All right. Well, it's time for our world famous roll call to close down the show. Don't forget tomorrow, Rich and I for pre and post game. These guys will be at the arena for the welcome back tour of Tobias Harris and Paul Reed.
Harris's big return.
Yes. So we'll get those guys back tomorrow. And Kyle and Derek will join us from the arena. Let's get to the guys and the gals out there.
It was a lively one today. So thank you, everybody who happened to be here. Brian Pumper in the building with the double super chats to end it. We also have Kyle Wright. We got Martian Lynch 33. Phi Chi. Darkness.
Turn the lights down.
In the building. MBD BDBF.
What up, MBD?
I'm getting better at it. I'm remembering the name after all this time. Bootzilla in the building.
Boots.
My girl Winona hanging out, who was concerned.
Hey,
she said, to me, what's wrong with regular jobs? There's nothing wrong with regular jobs. In fact, most people working regular jobs, if not all of them, working harder than we do around here. So respect to those people. They just are not going to compete athletically with Jared McCain. That was the point being made there. Flex Hoops in the building. Money Mar in the building. Thank you also to Jeffrey Stewart. Thank you to K-Red, the hockey fan who is
back,
loving the basketball talk. We're loving having you around, my friend. Colby Colbs.
Great show, Cole.
Hanging out. Citizen X. I think I saw BC at some point.
What up,
right?
BC?
Remo K, Phi Chi, DJ, a.k.a. Mr. Sandman, MC, Flyers in 7. We had Misremembered 72's first ever super chat on a live stream today.
Yes.
Thank you to Misremembered. Who were our other super chatters today?
What up,
Bree? Just so I don't miss anybody. Jake M was also in here. Obviously, B Pump and MBD BDF. Look at that. The old Valerians hanging out with us. Helicopter Propeller. Will not say the rest of their name, but I always laugh seeing it.
What up, Helicopter Propeller?
Valhos is in
Val.
here. Mon Money is in here.
Mon Money.
Blanche.
Golden Girls. The Golden Girls.
Blanche in the building. John Peace, and Devon always does this piece. It's the other piece.
We've hit the big time when the
But
Golden
shout out
Girls
John
are checking
Peace.
out the show.
Elephant in the room. Well, that could be any number of things.
Yes.
So we'll let that one marinate for a little bit. Malcolm Carrington also with us.
What up, Malk?
Thank you, everybody who stopped through here
Hey,
today.
Sal.
Also,
Saw you in there
I'll
too,
say, because
Sal.
we highlighted a question from him. Shout out to Yo Q, who I feel like I was yelling a little bit as we answered his question, but also said, love the show. Said to Yo Q, it's all love. It's always love to everybody who comes in here, just wants to talk about their favorite team and is not coming in here to cause trouble. We got time for everybody who comes in with the time and the right attitude for us. Love all of y'all. Hit the subscribe button on your way out if you're new. Hit the bell icon so you can get notifications each and every time we go live.
We would if we could find it.
And
What
if
up
you
to the
want to
bell?
say
Where's
thank
the bell?
you. Oh, wait, hold on. We have one last super chat
Another
on the
one?
way out. JoJo's second mama
JoJo.
apparently just wanted to make a donation. JoJo's second mama, if there was
Real quick, if there's a question, drop it in the chat.
if there is a question you wanted asked next time on the show, come through with that question. But we thank you
JoJo.
for that donation. If you really want to say thank you, hit the thumbs up button to say, Super Producer Bree, you're the best for putting up with us.
She is the best.
And for keeping our show together. We will see you guys, as Devon said, pregame tomorrow, Sixers, Pistons, and for postgame. Until
6:30,
then,
7 o'clock game, 6:30.
we are out. Goodbye. Enjoy your day.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.